I don't want this is going to get to be a habit sitting on these soft seats on Sunday night. I have a hard enough time keeping you awake in the morning. That's right. Yeah. You know, I said, you will not return to your life. Always hear in the Bible, God's word about it. So I wanted to have Hardy and Sherry share with you tonight their journey. They went with Mike Huckabee's group, and I think that's a great group because it is spiritually focused. I had the opportunity to go one year, and it was a great trip. But my guide was an archaeologist, and so he thought it was his duty every time he passed a rock pile to stop and to get everybody out of the truck and tell them what happened here back so and so, so and so. I finally got a little tired of that because of the heat, so I'd remain in the bus, and Marinella made fun of me because I wouldn't get off the bus. But when you walk in the Garden of Olives, when you visit the seashore there at the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus preached to the masses, uh, it'll raise the hair on your neck. And I understand that not everybody has an opportunity to go, but I would just encourage you, if you ever have an opportunity, it is money well spent. So just keep that in mind and know that it's not just a commercial gig, and it is a life changing event. Just walked, and so let me just encourage you if you ever have the opportunity to do that. We're going to have a word of prayer. I'm going to turn this over to Artie and Sherry, and I want to thank them for all of the time they've put in and for sharing this with you tonight. We're so glad to have them as members of our church. They've been here a while now, but they hadn't been here long, and they have contributed so much to our fellowship, and I appreciate them so much. So let's go to the Lord in prayer, and we'll take a look at Israel. Father, for your word. Thank you, Father, for your church, for these people. You bring us all together from all different backgrounds, and you put us together. And we have one thing in common, and that's our experience with you, that experiential knowledge of knowing Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. That is the cord that binds us together. And Father, I'm just thankful that you bring the people that you want into this church, and you use them, Father. You use their gifts and their talents in a special way to bless us all. And so tonight, Father, as we look, Father, at these photos and as we walk through the country of Israel, just use this time in a special way to touch hearts. We ask these things in Christ's name. Amen. All right, Mr. Hardy. Thank you, sir.
This is a little beyond my expertise, so y'all bear with me. Hold it. If you got any questions. Oh, okay. A little better, huh? Okay. See, that's what I meant. But can you go ahead and go to the next one? This is Mike Huckabee and his wife Janet and David, their son. David's actually running the tours mostly now, but Mike Huckabee and his wife were very much involved. And Mike Huckabee said he's made over 100 trips to Israel. His first trip was when he was 17 years old. And y'all probably know that he was governor of Arkansas and made an unsuccessful run for president of the U.S. He's conservative, very, yeah, secretary for Trump. So anyway, go ahead. And that's a map of Israel, and you see the shaded lines on the right side. That's that West Bank that you're always hearing about in the news. It's Palestinian Authority, but it's under Israeli security, and it's got Israeli Jews and Palestinians and all living there, and that's what they keep referring to as wanting to make it a separate state. And the over down is the Gaza Strip is the other little minor place, but you see Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and then Egypt. It's the crossroads. I didn't realize how ancient it was really in trade routes, all the way up from Egypt and then coming across from the east, going into Rome and Greece. And it's everywhere, like Brother Charles said, archaeology, they love the place because everywhere you stick a shovel in the ground, it's archaeology. They're digging up history, ancient history. There was one site, they call them tells, where they'll have a village that's been destroyed, a city, and it's been rebuilt, and it'll keep piling up. And one place they showed us a tell that it had been destroyed 21 times. It's got 21 different layers. So, you can see how ancient the place is. The first stop we had really was this model of the ancient city of Jerusalem, and that's the model of the temple. It's a near perfect replica of what it was under Herod, the temple. It's very detailed and a lot of information, but you can get the idea what it looks like there. Then that's another view of it. Okay, that's the wall around the city. You see it's to scale. Inside it is, that's the way they live. The roads, the drainage, no, this is just a model. Yeah. Yeah. I can't explain all of the what each individual is, but Herod's palaces were in there, and the gates that Jesus would enter through. Any other question? Okay. And this, of course, is the Mount of Olives that's across the Kidron Valley. And as we're all familiar with the Mount of Olives in our New Testament, Jesus is, it's not a very clear picture, but it's the best one I had. Yeah. It is. It is. You did? Yeah, that's yes. No, that's. Yeah, I got. Yeah.
This church is actually a Catholic church. Yeah. And in the forefront, there, okay. And then right beside that Catholic church is the Garden of Gethsemane. But what's amazing? Sorry. What's amazing is how close the Mount of Olives is to where the temple was. It was just right across that little valley. There's a little valley right in front of that church called the Kidron Valley. And when Jesus stayed on the Mount of Olives, he would walk down and go across that valley and go right into the temple where he was teaching. So it was not like so far that he couldn't walk it. And so that was the most amazing thing to me, is how close it was.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, and this, talking about the Garden of Gethsemane, like those steps, they were saying this was the path where Jesus walked going to the garden. So, I mean, you can walk there and you're actually walking in footsteps where Jesus walked. That'll make the hair. Yeah, yeah. Okay, and this, I didn't get a very good picture angle on this one, but it had all those beautiful frescoes or whatever they call them up on the top. And it's a Roman Catholic church located on the Mount of Olives. And it's next to the Garden of Gethsemane. And there is a bedrock, they say, where he prayed. And this is the actual garden at the foot of the Mount of Olives. So those trees, you see the old gnarly ones, they were probably there when Jesus was there. Yes, yes, yeah, yeah. Good, good. All right. And this is the way of suffering, they call it. It represents the path that Jesus would have taken when he was forced by the Roman soldiers to be led to the crucifixion. There's actually 9 different stations in there of where something happened to Jesus. They took his robe, they put the crown of thorns on him, just various things that you read about in the Bible. Well, the churches will have plaques up saying this is where we believe this happened. And it's only about 2,000 feet from the church to the crucifixion site, which they believe is a Church of the Holy Sculpture. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but close. Okay, this is a view of it. Actually, there's a couple of different churches in there. It's more like a compound. But this, according to tradition, back to the 4th century, is where Jesus was crucified at Golgotha, and Jesus' empty tomb is in there. Now, there is another place that the Garden Tomb, which is considered by many to be the tomb of Jesus, and it was not unearthed until 1867. But in studying the archaeology and the sites and everything, the archaeologists think that is the site, but the church still has the other one. Now, this is another view of that kind of a compound of the Church of the Holy Scripture. Yeah, that's an inside view. Beautiful murals and paintings. And I think, is that one Catholic too? Or is it Greek? Greek Orthodox
and Protestant
all in that compound. Yeah.
Obviously, a major tourist attraction. They still hold services.
Yes, they do. And okay, go ahead and next one. Now, this is amazing because many people believe that is the slab that Jesus laid on after he was crucified. That's actually it. And people go in and touch it. and to prepare the body. That.
Well, they can't know for sure, but the location and everything was pretty sure.
Yeah, and that goes back to like, the 4th century was when, so that, that's in relative terms, that's not very, very long after the crucifixion. Uh, yeah, yeah. But you see the people wanting to touch it. Okay, and now, yeah, this is a garden tomb, the other site that is believed to be the site of the burial. Okay. And this is a view of actually Golgotha outside the garden tomb.
And it's amazing. It still looks like a skull.
Yeah.
When you stand there and look up at it, it very clearly
It does.
has a definition of a skull. And it's hard to capture the picture, but when you're standing there looking at it, you can tell it's Golgotha.
And actually, I was taking this over the tops of buses, is why it's kind of cut off and out and distorted a little bit. Okay. And then this is a picture of the tomb, the garden tomb. You can see, and then that's an interior view there. Yeah, yeah.
But it's all right there. Yet, of course, nobody can be 100% sure which one's which, but it's so close proximity wise that it could be really either one.
Yeah.
But it's chilling when you walk in.
And yeah,
That's right.
yeah, that's right. That's what we do. So actually go to the next one. Now here's the circular stone, which it shows how, and I didn't realize, I always had a vision that the stone was round, like a big rock, but actually it's more like a wheel and it's on a track. That's how they rolled in front of the tomb to seal it. Traditional way to seal a family tomb, because it was, it was reused. And this is an interesting place. This is the Shrine of the Book, part of the Israel Museum. The book being the Dead Sea. They have an exhibit in there and a few of the actual scrolls themselves. And under Jewish tradition, they believe that they need to continuously pour water on it to keep it pure. But it's pretty amazing to walk through there and see, those scrolls that they found in the desert in 1949. In the Dome of the Rock that we spoke about, which actually is, it's kind of a compound. There's a Muslim synagogue in there, and then there's the Dome of the Rock, where they believe the temple was, and the blood from the sacrifices would go to the site where Abraham attempted to sacrifice his son. And it's holy to all of the, and since we've been back, actually, there was a deal in the media about the conflict between the Palestinians and the Jews, because the Palestinians had their synagogue, but they were trying to bar the Jews from going in to this part of it, which they're not allowed to by law. And it was kind of a protest, and the Israeli Defense Force had to go in and haul them out, tear gas, and so it's a holy site to all of the religions. Still squabbling, you know. So, yeah, that's another view. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, that's-
See, and it's actually I don't. Yes, I think it is. And you see there's the Dome of the Rock, and then there's the mosque. We didn't. We did on the Western Wall, but we didn't go into the Dome of the Rock. Okay, that was one of the statues showing Abraham attempting to sacrifice Isaac. Yeah. And there's a view of the what Sharon was talking about, the Kid Run Valley. Now, y'all are familiar with Schindler's List in the movie and all. That was one of the stops we made on, I guess, the first day. I didn't realize how the Jewish people feel about him, but he was buried in Poland. I think he died broke, and then part of the Jewish custom is that you put the grave site, you put a rock, and all that around there, and they clear off, rake them over. It'll almost give you chills when you see it. And a lot of that is from his ancestors, you know. Yeah, that's a better picture of it right there.
Yeah, there are still Schindler Jews that live in Israel. They're descendants of the people that he saved. He helped to get them out. And the story is that he was, as Huckabee called him, a scoundrel. He went to the Nazis and convinced them to let him have some of the Jewish people to be slaves in his factory. And working there, he started being friends with, he turned completely around and started trying to help them get out. And he died penniless, even though he
saved
was
like
wealthy.
1,100 or more, 1,000.
Yeah. And so these descendants of his are the ones who brought his body to Jerusalem and buried him there in that cemetery, and they are the homage to him.
And many of his descendants are prominent people that, okay. And this, after we left there, we went to King David's tomb, which is in the old city there. And according to the medieval tradition, that's where King David is buried. And so you can go to the next one. You can't really see much about it, but other than the plaque saying this is where it's at. And this is the upper room where the Last Supper traditionally, it's all of it really is traditionally what it was traditionally recognized.
It's a representative
of an upper
An
room.
upper room, traditional.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. We room here, but we did it at the room and the service there. Yeah. So, okay. And this is just a picture of the Roman Catholic Church located on the eastern slope of Mount Zion outside the walled city. And it's an impressive structure. But oh, yes, yes. Yeah, yeah, where the cocks crowed of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that he would deny him 3 times before the cock crowed.
Yep. All right, go ahead. All right, now here's.
That's right.
Yeah, I've got a few scenes in here of just life inside the city. You know, there's the Palestinian section, and actually then there's the Jews that live in there. But these are just school kids. You know, yes. No, it wasn't really cold, really.
Well,
It was
cold
in the
enough-
morning,
well, in the mornings it was cold, and then
but
it would
it was
warm
perfect weather. A lot better than going this time of the year. You know, they're having a heat wave just like we do. Yeah, they're on like the same parallel that we are.
up. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's just one of the characters on the street, you know, that you see. Just people trying to live and selling bread. Actually, that's one of the bus drivers
Yeah.
in our tour group. He was getting bread for the bus. They kept us supplied with snacks. Never let us go hungry, for sure. That's a better view of the actual vendor. And, you know, they're like this all over. You almost think it's a step back in time. They probably were selling bread like that, 2,000 years ago. Yeah.
The only drawback
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm a meat eater. They don't eat a lot of meat in Israel.
No.
No.
Mushrooms and salads.
Chicken and beef.
That's right.
No pork.
That's right.
Yeah, no pork.
Beef is not what you call beef. I mean, it is grainy and tough.
Mhm.
It's not exactly what we call a prime steak. Because it's not big. They don't have big cattle herds and things.
Right.
And so there's very little actual beef that's eaten. It's considered a delicacy. No pork at all.
No.
But
Lots of fish.
Right.
lots of fish, yeah. But they have made the desert bloom again. It's amazing the fruit that they grow over there. And you can go a little bit south and you saw that desert on the map at first. You're like, nobody can live here, or nobody can grow anything here, but with their irrigation and their farming practices. And then those kibbutz, like one of the guides that spoke to us, they sent him to ag school. And he was a military guy and got wounded or whatever, but they still sent him to ag school. And that's the way they keep developing these fruit farms and whatnot. And yeah, beautiful, beautiful produce. Little ladies
Vendor.
selling. Yeah, there's some radishes in there.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep. More. I was kind of fascinated by the way they just sell it, sitting out in the sacks, But anyway, this is the Eastern Gate. It's only one that's closed tight. Double gate, believed to be the main entrance to both the Old and New Testament Jerusalem. Jesus made his triumphal entry into Jerusalem through this gate and exited the garden here to pray in, the gate to pray in the garden. Yeah, they know.
Yes.
And you look at the size of those rocks and how did they build this? How did they build the temples? How did they build the walls around it? And how was it torn down? You know, it had to be, you know, they were using slaves. A lot of them were Jewish slaves, I'm sure. But you look at the size of them and with no modern equipment, how did they do it? And it's amazing. Okay, here's our service that we had on the,
This is the temple steps. That's the last remaining part of the original temple. Is that correct, Hardy?
yeah.
And we had a service there. You can see the praise team in front. Huckabee had a praise team that followed us everywhere we went and entertained us every night. They were wonderful. And we did lots of music, and then that's the Mount of Olives across the way from us there.
And Sherry, isn't that Bethlehem way off in the distance? Was this the view?
I don't know.
I think it was. And Huckabee wouldn't take us into Bethlehem. He said it's not safe. And, and it's controlled by the Palestinian Authority.
And
security and control. So he said, I'm not comfortable. And so we didn't go. And I kind of hated that, but I'd rather be safe. Yep. And this Church of St. Anne is believed to be the childhood home of Jesus' mother, Mary.
Yeah, this was her church.
Yeah. Okay. And this is the pools of Bethesda.
And this is right beside that church.
Yep. And we all know the story of Jesus healing the lame man who had laid there for years trying to get to the water, but and this is a picture of one of the gates, and you can see the soldiers and whatnot. I think this the entrance where we went to the Western Wall, the Wailing Wall.
I think so.
I think it was, but anyway, it's typical gate, and there's one of the soldiers there.
It's shocking. Americans are not used to it. When you step off that plane, and then on, you'll see soldiers
Everywhere.
with machine guns. Everywhere.
Yes.
Yep.
Tells you kind of the situation that those people live in
Every day.
Every day.
live in fear.
Yep. And this is another one of the gates. Okay, I've forgotten the significance of that one. And here's the Western Wall as we're going into the Western Wall section. Okay. Now you're talking about the military. It kind of gets you to see high school kids with machine guns.
Yes.
But this is one of the sites where when all of the, well, not all of them, but most of the Jews, when they're 18, they have 3 years of military service. So when they finish high school, they go into the military, and this is one of the sites where they're sworn in, where they actually take the oath to defend Israel. And clean cut. Here's the wall. Yep.
Yes.
And yeah, the one night we got up in the morning, everybody was talking about the jets because our hotel was right on the Sea of Galilee. And when the Israeli jets take off, they'll fly down the Sea of Galilee real close to the ground because they're hidden from the radar. And then they went into Jordan, I believe it was,
No,
Syria.
they went into Syria.
Syria.
It was during the time when the
Right after the Turkish
earthquake had happened, and Iran was sending supposedly aid into Syria for the Turkish earthquake victims, and the Israeli intelligence had determined that no, those were weapons.
Yes.
So they went in and bombed the warehouses where those weapons were, and while we were there.
But there was no stabbing or shooting on the streets or anything. They
No.
were actually having a protest around the Kissick, which is their Congress, about the judicial reform, but that was there no violence or anything.
Marty, I don't know if your cheerleader told y'all, but when we took the bus into Israel, the guy said, "Now don't y'all worry." He said, if they're shooting at one another across the road, they'll stop and let the bus pass and then start shooting again, because their livelihood is tourism. So they are not going to shoot up a bus, the people on it, because of the fear of losing the tourists. And that's what we were told. Said, now, y'all don't worry. Said, if you hear gunshots and they're shooting at one another, they'll stop and let the bus pass, and then they'll start back up. I thought I was going to die laughing when he said that. That's so foreign to our thinking, and But
Yeah.
that's the reality of it.
Yeah, that's what those people live with every day, and it's. But anyway, and then of course here's the Orthodox Jews, Hasidic or something like that's the way they pronounce it, and there's a lot of resentment among the other Jews, the modern Jews, because right now they don't have to serve in the military. They don't have to do anything, but they don't work except have kids and get a check from the government. And that was when Israel was formed, like in the 47 or whatever, 1950, 52, they the first Congress and premier didn't think they were religious enough. So they set aside this policy for this group of Jews to be the religious leaders, supposedly, and train up and strengthen the Jewish faith, the traditional Jewish faith. And,
Because the people had been scattered all over the world.
and all these
And
different
they
countries.
were moving back into Israel, and they wanted their religion to be the prominent religion in that area. So they had to teach them. They didn't know the traditions.
They
So,
didn't know the law.
yeah. And so
You know.
these people all get government
Subsidies, basically.
subsidies to, all they do is supposed to study the scriptures, and they wear the little thing on their head with the scriptures,
Torah.
where it says wear it on your forehead.
They're the modern day Pharisee.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But the majority of Israel folks are secular.
Yeah. And what
Yes.
Hardy was
Jews are not believers.
what Hardy was referring to when he said modern Jews, it's the people who work. The people who serve in the military and the people that work all the time are, they're saying there's too many of these people now, because them and all their children, and they're continuing to multiply. And they were like, the country can't afford to continue to subsidize these people. They need to go to work. They need to get jobs. They need to serve in the military.
Well, an update on that, Sherry, I saw this week that they're going to have to go into the military because their exemption just expired unless
Okay,
they
good.
re-up the law. Now, I don't know about their finances or what. They're not going to continue the exemption from this. They need them in the military.
Yes.
For the military, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, unless you
Except
got
them.
unless you got something wrong with you or whatnot. And yeah, another view. The very young commanders and officers in the Jewish military.
Yes.
They told us some stories about combat and whatnot, and guy was like, "Oh yeah, I was 21 years old and I had a tank that I was commander of, that had all this crew," and you're like, "Wow."
Very Caesarea.
Yeah. Now this is Caesarea, as we all know from the Bible, Paul's journeys, and this is a view of the harbor. You see the bow area there, and Paul sailing. King Herod was Herod the Great. He was a great builder. He built palaces, he built aqueducts, he built fortresses, ports, and he had a palace here. Go to the next one. This is another view of it. And it's, as you see, a national park, another ruins. And it was the capital of the Roman government in Palestine. And this was the theater there.
This theater is built so that sound travels all around it, and they believe that the Apostle Paul actually taught here in this theater.
Yeah, you could stand on up there at the front, and people in the back and then the top
can
could
hear.
hear the way the sound would travel. Yeah. And that's another view of the ruins, of course. And this view of the harbor, more ruins. You see over in the center there, that was a racetrack, basically, chariot races. Yeah, there's a lot of entertainment going on in the Capitol. And that's a good view of the actual harbor itself, the water. Herod's palace was right there. This is interesting to us. Me and Sherry come out of the oil and gas industry for most of our career. And one of our in fact, our friend that visited us this weekend was on the team that made that discovery in the Mediterranean, which you can view that platform from the harbor, the Caesarea. And that was very timely because Israel was having to buy all of their energy from other countries,
Egypt.
Mainly from Egypt for the oil. And so this has been a godsend for them.
Every 5 years they had to renew their contract with Egypt, and of course they were increasing the price for them. And this platform was drilled and came on production right when that 5-year term was up, and they were able. This platform and the production from it has made Israel completely energy sufficient without having to purchase from anyone else.
They're actually selling energy to the other countries in the area.
And so they were
now.
able to tell Egypt, sorry, but we don't need it anymore.
Yeah. So it was just interesting side note to us, knowing the people.
Just God's provision.
Yeah. All right.
Those that have turned today that are secular, the scriptures tell us that he will go back. They'll come back to worship.
Yeah. And this is a map of the Sea of Galilee showing Capernaum up in the north there.
Now, we thought it was interesting that the way they spell Capernaum.
Yeah.
It's different from the way we spell it.
Yeah, and that's the Jordan River entering from the top, Galilee, and then going on down through the Dead Sea. And we
Yes.
did.
Did y'all
I got a
get
couple.
He
Yeah,
did.
I did.
I said, I'm not getting in that water.
I won't ever do it again.
He won't ever.
One was. Yeah. Yeah.
It's difficult. Yeah. This is some of the ruins in Capernaum, and the picture is showing the palm tree. A lot of their architecture had the palm trees and all of the different fruits and things built into it. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
I've forgotten the significance of it, but
Yes, something local. Yeah. You go ahead. And this is another, more ruins here.
now
Houses.
Capernaum was where Peter's house was, right? And that's where Jesus spent a lot of time at Peter's home.
Was
there.
that Capernaum or
I
I'm
think
not
it-
sure.
I think it's
I don't-
Capernaum. I think that might be part of Peter's
Peter's
house
house.
there.
Anyway, you can go to the next one, please. Yep. And this is
This is
Magdala.
Magdala.
Yep. Home of Mary Magdalene. And there's a village, fishing village on the Sea of Galilee, crossroads, and the Romans destroyed it in 67 AD, and most of the Jewish population was killed or sold into slavery.
And a lot of that has just been excavated.
While we were over there, we had sunrise service on the Sea of Galilee. That was beautiful. Yeah, that's just one of the views here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is just a little bit, another view, and it says 13 miles long, 7.5 miles wide at its northern end, 32 miles in circumference. Yeah. And there's where the northern shore, where Jesus told Peter, "Feed my sheep." Yeah. And that's another one. And you can see why fishing is, there's a lot of fish to eat in Israel. Now, here's the Mount of Beatitudes. There's a church there, and we're Sermon on the Mount. It's a beautiful place right there overlooking the sea. Okay, do the video on it if you got it.
Oh, wow.
Sure, you want to tell them about the praise team since that Al and
Yeah, Al was on the the keyboard there. He was the leader of the praise team that Huckabee had with us. And then Maurice was the violin player. And then one of the gentlemen that was sitting next to Mike Huckabee on that video was one of the vocalists. And then there was another girl that has got several albums that she's put out that was on the praise team. And they entertained us at every day at one particular site. They would be there and would entertain us like that one. And then when we went to the Church of St. Anne, Maurice played a beautiful song there. I have that on video too, but I didn't try to put it in this video. But the praise team would do a lot of different things. They did, of course, Christian music, but they also did a lot of secular stuff. Mike Huckabee actually plays the guitar. He plays a bass guitar, and he would get up and play with them at night sometimes. And then if they found out that anybody in the audience could play an instrument or whatever, they would bring them up on stage and do all kinds of things. But we were entertained every day, all day. We had a lot of entertainment. It was wonderful.
Okay, this is one of my favorite places. This is Masada. Actually, there's a movie made about this, and I think about 1990 or 1980 or something. This is up on that high plateau. Herod built a fortress up there in case he needed it to get away from the Romans. He never visited it, I don't think, but he had 2 palaces up there too, and had pigeons. He had water cisterns, and you'd think it was inaccessible. There's just no way. And it's overlooking the Dead Sea, and this. It says during the first Jewish-Roman war, the siege of Masada occurred. It took them 3 years before the Roman army was able to get to the top, capture the fortress. It's a very impressive place.
It's a long way up there. You have to walk to get up there. They don't have an elevator.
Well, they
we
have
rode-
a cable car now.
We rode a cable car.
Yeah, it was. I wouldn't
I wouldn't have gone.
have gone either. But this gives you an idea of the terrain around the place. It's desert and the Dead Sea and all, just a terrible place. But yeah, there's
the cable car.
they got the cable cars now. Yeah. Yeah. So, go ahead. And this is a view looking down. You see the little square there. That was where the Romans had their garrison while they were figuring out how they were going to get them out of there. And that's the tourist buildings and highway out there on the other side. But that's some of the ruins. Like I said, they had palace. They actually had pigeons. They raised pigeons up there and fed people and yeah. And they used them for food. Yeah. And they used the droppings in to put it in the garden. Yep. Just other views of how hostile and an environment that is. Let's see, I think there's one more slide there on it. Nope, that's another. Yeah, that's a close up of the garrison. And go ahead. Didn't show it, but anyway, the way the Romans got in there, they built a ramp, using the Jews as slave labor, hauling dirt, and built it up. And that's a view of the Dead Sea and the tourist trap there. Yeah. That.
Yep.
There's the beauty treatment from the. Yeah. Yeah. But it was a fun place. This is an interesting place, Baghetto. You know, it's right there on the plain Armageddon, or as you call, you know, the plain of Jezreel. And it's an ancient city. In fact, it's called Tel Megiddo, I think, because it's been destroyed and rebuilt. But it was, you know, the king of which was slain by Joshua during Solomon's reign. It was one of the cities for chariots. They, when in their excavations, they found stables capable of taking care of 450 horses and 150 chariots. Strategically placed place fort to control the trade route. That's another view of the ruins. Of course, that's another one. And that's overlooking the valley, one of the views. And this is the Jezreel Valley, including where the Philistines defeated the Israelites.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, and where the Battle of Armageddon will take place.
Folks, the Bible says blood will be up to the reign of the horses, which is about 5 feet. And there will be that much blood covering that valley.
And this valley, major trade route between Egypt and Syria and Lebanon, and that this is in this area is where the Egyptian caravan was going through, and Joseph's brother sold him to this caravan that was on their way to Egypt. They were coming through this valley and going, and that's we had just gone through Genesis with Brother Charles on Sunday nights, and that was very interesting to me that you could see where it happened.
That's right. So now here's the baptismal site we visited on the Jordan River, which was an interesting say. There's David, Huckabee's son, David Huckabee, and that's a praise leader. The guy on the piano, Al.
Al.
He's
Yeah,
oh yeah. Yeah, Huckabee had 8 buses, and the buses would hold 50 each. So, and I think we all converged on this site. Usually we didn't go to a site all at the same time because we just overwhelm it. But, you know, so they were running us through. They had I think about 4 pastors baptizing. Huckabee didn't baptize. He didn't get out there. And that's another more tranquil view of the Jordan. And you see the stairways where people come down. But we were just one group. There were probably 3, 4 other groups from all different nationalities, different languages being. Yeah, I mean, and we saw a lot of international people like from Africa or Middle East or whatnot, and Garden of Gethsemane and Mount of Olives and all. They, you know, Christians from everywhere. Yeah.
So when y'all were used to seeing these rivers around here, the Jordan is nothing like that. It's not that big. It's really a small river.
And it's calm.
Yeah, it's calm.
Yeah.
It's nothing like the Brazos or San Bernard or anything. It's basically small.
Yeah. There's a view from Mount Carmel to the Kishon Valley, and where Elijah chose this place for the contest with the prophets of Baal, and anyway, I didn't get a very good picture, but you get it. And there's the Capernaum town of Jesus. And its ruins, and that's Huckabee explaining a little bit to us about the events, biblical events, significant, and more of the ruins and walls and
A lot of rocks.
a lot of rocks.
A lot of them.
Yep, more rocks.
Did you put in a picture of the millstone? Did you get a picture of the millstone in here?
Don't think I did.
Huckabee showed us a millstone when we were at that site, and it's a huge round thing, and he showed us that, you know, that was what Jesus was referring to when he was, well, what was it, Brother Charles? I don't remember the exact story.
That was where they would grind the wheat.
There was,
But Jesus said it was better to have a millstone around your neck than,
Then at the bottom of the sea.
yeah.
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 yeah,
That millstone is huge.
It's huge.
That's
It's
right.
huge. Yes.
Yeah.
When you read the scriptures, you don't think about a millstone taking a big one to sink somebody, but when you see the millstone there, it's not only big enough to sink you, it sinks the whole ship.
right.
Right.
And
Okay,
Peter's
here's
house
So it
was
at
here.
Capernaum.
Yeah. And this is Magnolia, and that's a view of the location. It has the complete ruins of a first century synagogue, and it's believed that Jesus taught in that synagogue. It's right on the western coast of the Sea of Galilee at foothills of Mount Arbel. And that's a view of the sea there, Galilee. And then there's a synagogue. Yep. Yeah. There, that box, back it up one, or go forward. Yeah. Yeah, one more.
There.
Yeah, that box right there was where they kept the scrolls.
They're excavating that now.
And this is an interesting place. This is was Caesarea Philippi, and it was a center of pagan worship. And this is where Jesus asked his disciples, "Whom do men say that I am? The Son of Man am?" And Peter answered him. And that's another view. That cave back there, I think this was as far north as Jesus traveled. And he went there because it was such a center of pagan worship. Okay. Yeah, close up of the cave there.
And that was the where the road to Hades was, in that mountain.
I think so. Anyway, this is a relatively recent discovery. I think in 1990s, the city of Dan, Tel Dan, and that gate right there into this ancient city is, they believe Abraham traveled through that gate.
When he was trying to rescue his nephew Lot.
Yeah. So, and that's another. And here's the Golan Heights. Everybody remembers the battle with the Syrians. In the distance is Damascus, barely distant. And the road to Damascus that Paul was traveling on goes right through that valley when he met Jesus. And it's a battle park now. There's a UN security zone separating the Syrians from the Jews. Okay, and that's another view of it. And you can see some tanks and no, but it's very important, very emotional to the Jewish soldiers. One of the tour guides talked to us about the experience of being a tank commander in that battle. Destroyed tanks still sitting there. I guess that's it. Anybody got any questions or? Thank you.
Well, there's nothing like putting scripture to picture and actually seeing where. I want to thank Hardy, Sherry, for sharing all of this with you. And I want to encourage you once again, if you ever get an opportunity, don't pass it up, because it'll bring chills and make the hair stand up on your neck. And it was special for me, and I know for Hardy and Sherry. And I've never spoken to anybody that went to Israel that told me they regretted going, that it wasn't worth it. So once again, thank you for being here tonight, being a part of this. And we love to share our journey with one another. That's what the church is for. And so this is a journey that Hardy and Sherry got to take. And I just thank God that they were willing to share their journey with you. And pray that any time that you have a journey with the Lord, wherever it might be, that you would share it with the people here at the church, because that's what we're all about, is lifting up and encouraging one another. We don't need to be a church without it. Yes, Daniel.